Good morning. First, I just want to point out how amazingly appropriate it is that as the youth director, my last Sunday with you is today, 6/7. It's amazing. I would really like to thank the youth for filling rows 6 and 7 to commemorate this special send-off date. It's simply, you got it. As most trends are, it's slightly annoying, very silly, but it makes us smile. That's relatable. But today I want to celebrate you, St. Mark's, the amazing church family where I have grown up, been nurtured, and felt so much love throughout my entire life. I would like to begin today with a heartfelt thank you. Thank you. Before I ever knew that God was calling my name, this church was teaching me how to listen. I've heard a lot of people in the last few weeks tell me that I'm going to do great things and that I will be missed here. Thank you for your kind words. But really, that is truly a reflection of this church home and this amazing church family, of where and how I was raised. Even if I'm 138 miles away, I checked, we are going to do great things because St. Mark's is a part of me, and it always will be. One of the final projects I had for one of my classes this semester at seminary was called Spacewalk. When I got the syllabus and I saw Spacewalk, I was very excited. I want you to know I was really looking forward to that one. You can imagine my feelings when I found out I was not blasting off to space, not walking on the moon, but instead walking through the spaces in which I serve. It does make a lot more sense. So off I set. The spaces we find ourselves in hold our memories. As I walked through the spaces here at St. Mark's, I reflected on the ministries here that have impacted me throughout my life. Ministry doesn't just happen in sanctuaries. It happens on the sidewalks and in the classrooms, the courtyards, in the youth spaces, on the playgrounds, and in committee meetings. God has a way of speaking through the spaces that have been filled with love for a very long time, like our spaces here. So I started my spacewalk here in the sanctuary, standing in this space by myself with only the sunlight streaming down the altar. And I could remember when I was very little, sitting over here in the second pew with my entire family. We took up most of the pew. I remember bringing my very cool hot pink briefcase full of art supplies, which were essential. And probably really the reason we took up the whole pew, half of it was probably my art supplies spread out so that I could appropriately color. I took up half that space every Sunday for a very long time. Every week, after I was done coloring, I'd crawl up on my dad's lap, and most of the time I'd fall asleep, which also is a testament to how safe I felt here. I was very comfortable here, and I would go to sleep. I'd snore. Everybody knew I was asleep because this was a space I felt love and I felt safe. I also remember once I joined the children's choir, some of you might remember, standing up here and singing loud. They told me to. They said some people weren't going to hear us and we needed to sing louder. So I did. Don't worry, if I was going to sneeze or yawn or anything, they would stop and wait for Rachel. Because when I say I was loud, I don't think you understand how loud I was. I was very loud. They all heard me every time. Most of my early memories begin here in these spaces. And looking back now, I wonder how many times God was already calling my name before I recognized what was happening. All I noticed was the smiles around me and the love that I felt while I was screaming about Father Abraham and his many sons. Walking out of these sanctuary doors, I saw the library, where each month when I was little, my job was to get the UMW cross out for their meetings. I knew it was a very special job, and I loved having it. This church has always done such a great job at trusting children with holy things. You taught us all early that faith isn't something we watch from the sidelines. Faith is something that we do, each and every one of us, together. When you go past that first courtyard, there's another special space for me, the preschool. The playground looks a little safer these days, but the giant tractor tire that we got to play in when I was little was so fun. It was a really good hiding spot. And if God loves all creatures, why couldn't I call the spiders and the scorpions in there my friends? It was fine. When they closed our tricycle path to build the new classrooms, I was kind of upset. But the new path they built was really cool, so all was forgiven. And I got to brag to my friends that my dad had put in a water fountain in our playground. It's pretty cool. Unfortunately, room 1 is also where I remember having my first time out at school. It wasn't my fault. But it happened. I was there. As I got older and started school, I didn't get to be physically on this campus as much as I had. I never did ask who got to put out the UMW cross after I went off to Copper Creek. I hope they took their job seriously. But I took a little bit of St. Mark's with me to elementary school. Even as a kid, St. Mark's gave me such a good foundation and an ease with asking questions. I sailed through elementary school confident and comfortable wrestling with big questions. I learned here that curiosity can be holy. You taught me that loving God with all of my mind means questions are not something to fear. Not every church teaches children that questions are welcome. Questions make us nervous. Trust me, I have taught confirmation enough times to understand that some questions are very, as little Nora would have said, nervousing. But those questions, both for the one asking the question and the person being asked, are where we can really find that deep, deep faith. St. Mark's never taught me to fear curiosity. You taught me that faith and questions can, and often do, sit at the same table. You taught me that loving God with all your mind looks like exploring, wrestling, wondering, and learning. That gift is part of what eventually led me to seminary. My Sunday school teachers kept up that encouragement and let me explore all kinds of things. It was great. I learned a lot. And my 5th grade teacher in school, Mr. Kaner, did this too. I was a little nervous to start school that year. To 10-year-old Rachel, Mr. Kaner kind of looked like Abe Lincoln. He didn't wear the cute sweaters all my other teachers had worn. I was a little nervous he might be mean. He wasn't mean. He had high expectations for his students. He really did. He even made us track our own grades. It was really hard, but I felt very grown up, mastering how to find such important averages as my math grade. In the Amphi district in the 1990s, each year students were required to write a different style of research paper. Each grade had a different style assigned to it. In 5th grade, we had to write a comparing and contrasting research paper. Mr. Kaner trusted us. He allowed us to pick anything we wanted to compare and contrast. A lot of my friends chose 2 sports or 2 jobs or 2 foods or 2 shoes, I don't know, lots of different things. Little Rachel decided to compare Dr. Seuss books to the Bible. I don't know what Mr. Kaner thought when I proposed that to him. We'd have to ask him. But I can tell you what he said. He said if I felt like I could do it, then to do it. He trusted me. And I did it. I made appointments to meet with Reverend Jerry Hawes. I learned how to use a concordance, and I wrote my first research paper that I was truly proud of. I still am proud to it to this day. I can't find it, but I'm proud of it. I thought that I was just writing a paper for school, for my grade. It turns out God was whispering a call. This is what I consider to be the origin of my call story. I often relate my call story to the story in 1 Samuel, when God repeatedly calls out to Samuel multiple times before young Samuel realizes who it is calling his name. This research paper and the trust that Mr. Kaner gave me was the first time that I recognized God calling out. Like Samuel, I didn't recognize the voice yet, but I knew I kept hearing my name. The paper mattered less because of what I wrote and more because someone trusted me enough to let me try. My mom taught me how to use a concordance, and then she let me explore, draw my own conclusions, make my own connections. The adults in my life trusted me. A teacher could have laughed at my idea, could have told me it was too silly, too strange, or too hard for 5th grade. Instead, Mr. Kaner said yes. I think that is how sometimes a call begins. It's not always lightning bolts, burning bushes, or booming voices. Sometimes it's simply somebody seeing a possibility in you before you even see it yourself. Then came middle school, and with middle school came youth group. I had been looking forward to this for such a long time. I was able to finally join youth group in 1990. What year you think back there? 1996 and 7 were my first year in youth group. My very first youth group meeting in the summer of 1996, 7th grade Rachel walked into what is now room 17 and 18, so excited to hang out with the cool high schoolers, with Peggy's friends. That was pretty cool. Even more exciting, Peggy might not have thought it was as cool as Rachel did. Even more exciting was we got to vote about what we were going to call our new space that the youth were going to move into very soon. I loved helping to name that space and learn how things like that happen at a church. And that's the Wesley House. Again, God called my name through St. Mark's and the people here. That is where faith is passed down, not only in sermons, but in the trust, encouragement, late-night youth trips, and the people here at St. Mark's making room for young voices. In the youth group here at St. Mark's, I truly learned, grew, and began to see who God had really created me to be. Throughout my time in youth group, I was trusted and I was encouraged to join the conference's junior high conference design team. I was on it for 3 years. The last year I got to lead it, and it was great. It was amazing to me to see how connectional the United Methodist Church was, and to see the love and support that I knew to expect here. I saw it at other churches. I was at churches all around the conference and feeling that same support. So remember those research papers? In 7th grade, we had to select 2 different jobs to job shadow and then write a paper using only primary sources. I knew then that I had felt that tug to ministry, so I decided to shadow Pastor Jerry. Did you know sometimes pastors have to meet with marksmen at Coco's at 6:30 a.m. on a Wednesday? I did not know that prior to making my appointment. Learning that fact is when I decided in 7th grade that professional ministry was not for me. Not gonna work. But I knew I still loved St. Mark's. I knew I wanted to be here, and I came every Sunday, especially when there was a really cute boy that started attending Sunday school and youth group every week in 8th grade. He had this amazing talent. He could sidetrack the teacher away from the lesson for the full hour. She never noticed. It was great. He never got in trouble. It was very impressive. We all know how much we change in middle school and high school. I was no exception. I had phases where I wore really big, baggy jeans and I listened to metal because I was very edgy. And then I would have phases where I dressed very preppy and listened to country music. What stayed constant through all of those phases was St. Mark's. St. Mark's loved me through all of the awkward stages and loved me into leadership. I was invited to serve on committees when I was only in middle school, and I knew my voice was heard. I was able to help plan and develop the community court that still stands out there today. That experience taught me a lot about how committees and decision-making works at a United Methodist Church. I loved all the connectional events we participated in, and I really loved Sierra Service Project. Sierra Service Project taught me in very tangible ways how to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your being, with all your mind, and how to love your neighbor as yourself. Not as a lesson, not as an idea, with action, with hammers and paintbrushes, sweaty work gloves, and shared meals. That cute boy was still sticking around too. In Sunday school, at youth group, he even came to SSP. Maybe I could see myself being at church a lot more after all, even with early morning meetings. St. Mark's, over the last 40 years, has taken so seriously the charge to teach the children and to teach the children well. Every single time I reflect on the times God has called out to me, as God called out to Samuel, it's people at this church who helped me answer that call. When Hayden, who was the cute boy from 8th grade, when he answered his call to law enforcement, St. Mark's was there. All along the way, while Hayden and I knew that after his 20-year career, I could maybe explore the idea of seminary and ordination and working in ministry, people at St. Mark's kept loving and teaching me, kept asking me when, kept reminding me of our plan, and kept nudging me to keep listening. Now that I've finished my 2nd year of seminary, St. Mark's is loving me still. And doing what I have now learned is a really hard part of raising our children, sending these beloved children out into the world. During these last 2 years, I've had so many assignments about assessing the context in which I serve. Through working on these assignments and reflecting on St. Mark's as a whole, I see how deeply my history and St. Mark's histories are interwoven. I thank God every day for all of the amazing people here at St. Mark's who have loved, nurtured, encouraged, and prayed for me all along the way. St. Mark's, I pray that you continue to do what you do best. Love. Love the children, teach them well. Love the youth, teach them well. And love each other, and teach each other well. And I pray that in all that meets you, you will be well. Thank you, St. Mark's. I can't wait to see what we can do next. Amen.